The portal opens. Ava Reyes never thought a chemistry quiz would change her life. She certainly hadn't expected it to come with a glowing seal, pulsing like a heartbeat at the top of the paper. She sat alone in the cracked science lab of her underfunded Bogota high school, staring at the last question. What is the emotional frequency of hydrogen in a destabilized mana field? Her brow furrowed. Is this a prank? Her teacher didn't answer. He was frozen mid-sip of his coffee, unmoving. The clock on the wall had stopped ticking. Ava's pen, held tight in her trembling fingers, moved anyway. She wrote the only thing that made sense to her. Hope. The seal flashed gold. The world around her cracked like glass. She woke on a smooth obsidian platform, floating in open space. Stars spun in impossible patterns overhead, stitched together by glowing tendrils of energy. Below her, a spiraling castle made of crystal and stardust pulsed with life. Dozens of figures moved across hovering walkways, some tall and furred, others metallic, one shaped like liquid glass. A voice echoed beside her, soft and genderless. Designation: Ava Reyes. Origin: Soul 3. Status: Initiated. Ava scrambled back, staring at what looked like a hovering jellyfish wrapped in chrome plating. It blinked with light instead of eyes. Who are you? I am Oryx, your guide and interface at Galactic High. Welcome to the multiversal education nexus. Galactic? Hi. Ava stood shakily. She wore the same jeans and hoodie from class, now faintly glowing at the seams. This is a dream. I passed out. Someone drugged me. A common human reaction, Oryx replied. But no, this is real. You have been selected as Earth's representative of the Nexus, a convergence academy of magic, science, and diplomatic arts for the galaxy's elite. Ava's stomach churned. Why me? Oryx turned in midair. Because your answer, hope, was correct. Orientation was a blur. The headmistress was a telepathic tree. Classrooms were suspended in folded dimensions. Dormitories changed shape based on mood. Her roommate had 3 mouths and a pet shadow that hissed at her. Worst of all, she was the only human. Every glance carried some mixture of curiosity and pity. Most just ignored her. During her first lecture, Ethics of Interstellar Magic Deployment, a 12-limbed serpentine student leaned over. You're from Earth, right? I heard your species still uses fire for warmth. Ava kept her chin up. We also invented jazz and revolutions. That earned her a surprised blink, but also a ripple of laughter across the class. That night, as she sat alone on her floating dorm balcony, watching stars swirl like rain, Ava hugged her knees. She was a speck among titans, a girl from nowhere, but she wasn't going to break. Back home, she had faced hunger, grief, and silence. Here, they had flying swords and mind melts. Fine, let them stare. She would make them remember what it meant to be human. The weak link? Ava's fingers trembled as she tried to channel mana into the crystalline rod. Focus, human, snapped Professor Tilzek, a floating orb of flame and steel. Mana responds to intention, not effort. Ava grit her teeth. Her classmates held their rods effortlessly. Colors and patterns danced in elegant waves from their cores. Ava's rod just sparked, fizzled, and died. Laughter echoed across the dome chamber. She glanced sideways and saw the worst offender, Zyril, a long-limbed, silver-skinned student whose voice always dripped superiority. He leaned toward his friends and whispered loud enough for her to hear. She's trying to light it like it's a campfire. More laughter. Ava exhaled slowly and dropped the rod. Maybe give me a few thousand years of genetic magic breeding, and I'll catch up. Zyril smiled with patronizing grace. Perhaps you'll master spar generation before a final exam. That would be quaint. Ava turned away, jaw clenched. Professor Tilzek's eye flames dimmed in disapproval. Continue practicing. Later, in the hover lift heading back to the dorms, Ava slumped against the wall. The lift hummed softly as stars drifted past the glass panel like fireflies. Rough class, someone said. She looked up. A human boy, tall, broad-shouldered, and gaunt, stood on the opposite side. His eyes were tired but alert. She recognized him vaguely from orientation. You're Blaine, right? She asked. He nodded. You're Ava. Newest experiment. She blinked. Experiment. That's what they call us. We're not students to them. We're wild cards. Test subjects in a social experiment. Can baseline humans survive elite galactic education? She didn't respond right away. Blaine continued. I've been here 2 cycles. First human accepted. They tried to erase the memory of the last one. Failed in something called a void walk trial. No body, no answers. Ava felt cold. Why stay? His answer was immediate. Because we don't quit. We show up. We take punches and we keep going. Something about his voice grounded her. Later that night, Blaine led Ava through a forgotten hallway, past flickering glyphs and unused transport pads. They arrived at a dusty chamber with floating books, old spell scrolls, and glass orbs whispering to themselves. Restricted section, he said. Most students don't bother with this place. The information's too raw. Ava stepped inside, her breath catching. The room hummed with a strange familiarity. She picked up a worn leather tome etched with archaic symbols and froze. It was in Spanish. She turned the page. The diagrams showed energy flows aligned to emotion. Human emotion. Blaine stood beside her, watching. The galaxy thinks we're primitive, but we're not. We just lost our connection. Earth was severed centuries ago, maybe millennia. But our magic, our instincts, they're still there. Ava smiled faintly, running her fingers across the page. Then let's remind them who we are. Trial by Cosmos. The arena floated in the void, an enormous sphere of shifting terrain encased in a translucent shell. Mountains twisted into rivers mid-air, firestorms danced beside frozen forests, and fragments of ancient ruins hovered like puzzle pieces waiting for battle. Ava stood beside Blaine and Marek, their team for the Convergence Duel, an annual trial designed to assess synergy between students of different species and disciplines. Marek clicked his mandibles impatiently. The insectoid warrior towered over them, bristling with sharp carapace and pulsing biolight. I refused to lose because of soft-flesh primitives. Blaine didn't flinch. Good. Then keep up. Marek hissed, but said nothing more. The signal flared overhead, a cascading pulse of white light, and the trial began. They were dropped into a swamp. Ava landed hard, mud splashing her boots. She barely had time to rise before vines slithered toward her legs, animated by hostile spellcraft. Marek's arm blades flashed, severing them with brutal precision. Blaine fired a short burst from his energy gauntlet, dispersing a mass of ethereal fog ahead. We need to move. The terrain changes every 6 minutes. I can't cast anything, Ava said, her chest tightening. I've tried everything. Then stop trying, Blaine snapped. Feel it. Don't fight it, use it. A distant explosion shook the swamp. Another team had engaged in the northeast quadrant. Ava closed her eyes. Fear twisted in her gut. Not fear of the trial. Fear of failing. Of confirming every insult. Of proving they were right. She felt the pull of something ancient. Not in her head, deep in her chest. Hope. Rage. Love. Loss. Emotion surged. She opened her eyes and raised her hands. The water at her feet shimmered. A shape formed, a crude barrier of water and root, lifting them to dry ground. Marek stared. You summoned terrain? Ava shrugged, surprised herself. I didn't summon it. I asked for help. The arena shifted. They found themselves on a cliffside, where Zyral's team waited. Didn't expect you to survive the first zone, Zyral called out with a smirk. Didn't expect you to still be talking, Ava replied. He snarled, launching a psychic bolt. Ava stood her ground. The bolt hit her and fizzled out. Zyral blinked in disbelief. You resisted that. Blaine grinned. She's human. We don't break easy. Ava raised her hands. Her emotion flared again. Not anger, not fear, but defiance. The cliffside cracked and shot upward, hurling Zyral's team into the air. Cheers erupted from the spectator orbs above. Later, as they exited the arena, bruised, mud-soaked, victorious, Marek walked beside Ava in silence. You are undisciplined. Wild. Illogical, he said. Ava smirked. Thanks. He looked at her, expression unreadable, but formidable. In her dorm that night, Ava sat on the balcony, her muscles aching and heart racing. She hadn't just survived the convergence duel. She'd won a piece of respect. Not because she was human, but because she was Ava Reyes, and she was just getting started. The council watches. The summons came at dawn. Ava had barely gotten 3 hours of sleep when her door shimmered and opened on its own. Oryx hovered there, unusually tense. The Nexus Council requests your presence. Immediately, Ava blinked. Did I break a law I don't know about? No, Oryx said, voice flat. But you've drawn attention. Some of it dangerous. The council chamber floated above the core of the school, a gravity-neutral sanctum formed from folded starlight and obsidian runes. 13 alien beings stood in a circle around a central disk, each a symbol of their civilization's dominance. Mind flayers from Cyrith, the twin queens of Cthal, and even a representative from the Abyssal Accord. Ava stood alone in the center, her palms sweating. A tall, crystal-bodied figure stepped forward. Counselor Vrel, you have disrupted expectations, human. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, said another, a leathery being wrapped in sound waves. She beat a top-tier student in the duel. She demonstrated natural, elemental shaping. That's not disruption. That's power. Counselor Vrel's eyes narrowed, which is exactly why we must understand it. Earth has long been classified as a null world. Its magic threads severed. How do you wield power you should not have? Ava's mind raced. They didn't see her as a student. They saw her as a threat. She drew in a breath. Because I didn't learn magic the way you did. I don't manipulate formulas. I feel it. We're not severed. We're scarred. But scars can remember. A heavy silence followed. Then a whisper, telepathic, invasive, alien, pierced her mind. She lies, it hissed. She's a conduit. A vessel. Perhaps Earth's awakening has begun. The chamber erupted in low, buzzing arguments. Ava staggered back, clutching her head. Enough, barked a voice. Everyone fell silent. The speaker stepped forward from the shadows. Headmistress Amira. Tall, robed in shifting galaxies, and rooted by vines that flowed like hair, she was the oldest known being in the school. She turned to the council. You invited her. You tested her. Now you fear her because she succeeded. Perhaps instead of interrogating her, you should remember why the Nexus was built, to unify, not to suppress. Vrel's body pulsed in frustration. Earth is unpredictable. All greatness is, Amira said calmly. The council dispersed after that, though not before leaving a warning. We will be watching you, Ava Reyes. Closely, back in the gardens, Ava sat by a floating tree whose leaves played gentle music in the wind. Blaine found her there. What happened, he asked. They're scared, she said. Of Earth. Of me. Blaine nodded. Good. That means you're doing something right. She looked out over the stars. I don't want to be a weapon. You're not. But if they push us, let them learn what we really are. Ava smiled faintly. Not because she was ready for what came next, but because for the first time since she arrived, she belonged.